Hey, everybody. Welcome again to another Bitcoin news show. We're here together again for another week's of Bitcoin news. We got a couple people joining us here right now. We got Alex Stirk and we got Gregory that's going to be joining us as well. Oh, Gabriel joined in. Hey, Gabriel, how you doing? He'll be with us in 5. So, hey, it looks like we're going to have 4 people, a total of to be able to speak tonight on tonight's show. Happy New Year to you too, Gabriel. Happy New Year to everybody. I hope everybody had a great New Year, great Christmas, great holidays, opened lots of gifts and all that good stuff. Hopefully not too many people are still recovering from the New Year's, because that would mean you would have had to drink a hell of a lot. So, Alex, how you doing, man?
Oh, very good. Yeah. Happy arbitrary date and point in time.
That's right. That's right. You can watch this show. We upload the show up to the World Crypto Network YouTube channel, to the World Crypto Network SoundCloud. So wherever you guys are joining us in internet space, it could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could be a year from now. I know that Mad Bitcoin's in the World Crypto Network. He just pasted the 2014 holiday video of his, and that was pretty cool. Having everything, all the speak and talk about Bitcoin as of a year ago. All of it was still relevant today, and it was definitely fascinating to see people's mind shares and what the news they were talking about back then was.
Yeah, I'm sure they're debating the block size then too.
Yep. And I'm glad that's coming to an end finally too. I mean, holy smokes. It seems to be finally coming to a spearhead. We have a few different proposals on the table, but it looks like everybody's kind of agreeing on one or the other.
Well, yeah, that's one of the interesting things now is there's a lot of debate whether the miners have the control or the rest of the community does. Well, it's very much a tandem asset, like a symbiote relationship. So you can't really say that either has control, but we all have to work together.
Yeah, it's very interesting. People are like trying to even talk about people speaking about the consensus. People are like trying to downplay, saying that they're downplaying the miners getting all this, having all this power and stuff. They're saying they're just downplaying it, but no, actually, they're not downplaying it. They're actually speaking the truth. When the miners say that they don't have all the power, they mean it, and that is because Bitcoin does require consensus from everybody, from miners, from VCs, from users, from wallets, from exchanges, from everybody. So they're not downplaying that at all. It really does require consensus from everybody. Now, of course, there is a bit of centralization in the mining sector right now, 90% of it plus being over there in China and such. But that kind of thing, I'm hoping, Andreas Antonopoulos just tweeted about it the other day, and he was saying that he's not worried about it either. And basically, once the Bitcoin grows, there's plenty of places in the world with cheap electricity or ways of obtaining cheap electricity. There's plenty of places more than China. China is just the first place. There's going to be more once people realize this asset is going to continue to appreciate in value. They're going to opening up mining farms all over the world. So I'm not worried about it too much in the long run. How about you, Alice?
Yeah, I'm not really worried either. Like, it's a very hard ship to steer. So whether we're going in the right direction or the wrong direction, like we have plenty of time to correct. Yeah, it is very hard to achieve consensus. It's not just about who generates the blocks. It's about what blocks are being transmitted, what wallets are looking at which types of blocks. Everyone has a part to play in this.
Yeah, and to me, I wouldn't have it any other way. We spoke a bit about this on the last show, but decentralized consensus is the only consensus I want. I mean, it's messy. It takes a long time to get things done, but you know what? At the end of the day, everybody is happy, and everything was dealt with fairly. When you're talking about consensus among centralized entities and stuff, there is where the people have the last say. There is where your votes actually get added and removed and changed and stuff like that without you knowing. So Bitcoin is truly consensus, truly global consensus. So it's awesome to watch this debate happen, to unfold, and to finally come to an end. We'll see how well the next debate goes through, but I'm hoping this will definitely serve as a milestone in the future for decentralized consensus. Like, this is kind of the first time we've ever tried it. So hopefully, I think that each time we try it, we can improve upon the process that much more every time and iterate it on it every time.
Yep, I agree.
Cool. Yeah, so for everybody watching, if you could go ahead and tweet out the show. We're gonna have a few more guests in here. We're waiting for Gabriel, and we're waiting for Greg. And so until then, I guess we can go ahead and start the first topic, since they're not in here yet. We'll go ahead and paste that in. This is a pretty interesting topic. It's all about charity. Let me paste in the link. Bitcoin Gives Back, the biggest charity drives of 2015. So there was an article there on CoinDesk that basically kind of consolidated a list of the biggest charities in Bitcoin. And people don't realize that aside from remittance, charity really is kind of the number one use case scenario for transactions on the Bitcoin blockchain, besides exchanges and remittance. Charity is the number one thing that people use Bitcoin for transactions and stuff that rely on the network. So, because there's a lot of people that say, oh, every transaction is just from Silk Road, and mostly, on the blockchain and such. And of course, that's not even close to true. You can find all sorts of different blockchain analysis tools and stuff to really dig down deep. But really, most of the transactions are actually from charities and things like that. So we have Gabriel joining us here. Let me just pop him in the chat and say hello once he gets in here. Gabriel, how you doing, man?
I'm all right. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Did you get a haircut?
I don't think so. I don't remember a whole lot.
Maybe your hair is just nicer this time.
Yeah, I'm fresh out of the shower. I spritzed some cologne for you guys. I know that you don't have the smellophones. Alex might, but so just for your enjoyment.
Awesome. We appreciate it. Looking good.
Thank you. I'm fresh. I'm clean, and I'm ready to go. I want to get those notes up. Yeah. There we go.
Cool. Yeah, so I'm going to, while you're looking at the notes, I'm going to go ahead and ask Alex what he thinks on this first topic. We're actually talking about the first article, which is Bitcoin charity giving back.
Yep.
And the article kind of listed the number one charities in Bitcoin right now. Alex, tell me, what do you think about all this giving and about what people are saying about the vast majority of transactions on the blockchain and things like that?
Well, I think you had a really good point that this is one of the main use cases for Bitcoin. It's like, yeah, it's pseudonymous, where you can kind of be anonymous and hide your identity, but it gives you the option to be absolutely open with your publicity and your funding, and that just serves donations and charities perfectly, really. So, and I think the ease of donation as well. Like you don't have to worry about any censorship or anything like that. So like when we saw WikiLeaks, they were getting kind of their donations were getting stopped by MasterCard and whatnot. Like this is the freedom of money and the ease of flow of money. So that serves any charity very well. It's only a matter of time before we see maybe a homeless guy with a QR code or something on his sign.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that the article actually illustrates is how transparent it is. I mean, you can see the platforms that they're building on top of the Bitcoin blockchain for charity is absolutely fascinating. And you can see exactly where your money is going, exactly how long it took to get there, exactly who receives it. And this type of thing is absolutely important. Everybody's worried about where their Red Cross donations can go and such. And that's actually, they have every right to worry about that, because really, after investigations and stuff, it's shown that, not all of your Red Cross givings gets to the people where they're saying it's going to go. And that, of course, is due to all the central bureaucracy and centralized systems and old school money systems in place with the current financial system. You just can't guarantee that someone's going to get your money on the other end, especially when you're talking about going across seas and things like that. And that's really where Bitcoin excels, and it's absolutely wonderful to see these charities not only flourish, but flourish with transparency. So Gabriel, tell me, what do you think about this, man?
I think that the old paradigm of charities is undergoing the early stages of a transformation into a completely new set of societal structures. And Bitcoin is an essential part of that, as Alex pointed out, to provide transparency and provable action that people can get behind. Because if somebody says, hey, I'm helping people, you can have scams. You've got the agency problem. And what we're seeing now is the early stages of their transformation. It's just still very nascent. But I have a strong belief that current charity structures will actually take over the service arm of governments. So what we currently are forced into, quite literally, coercively forced to help a centralized organization whose ostensible reason for existence is to help people. Instead, we can consciously direct our resources toward societal structures like these charities, or what they're calling taximes, which would be a voluntary donation. I think they're going to build together into networks. We're going to be able to provide for the least in society in a totally efficient way that will revolutionize the structure of our culture and society.
Wow, very well put, very well put. And I really think, I really agree with that. That is some interesting stuff. I never really thought about how the charities are going to kind of play at least those types of services into government services, because it's true. I mean, there's all sorts of government services like welfare and stuff that could benefit from the exact same things as the charity, which is, getting the money where it's got to be. And so that's definitely interesting. That could definitely play a part.
And I think
we're going to see
the other ingredient that Bitcoin enables, that is really the supercharging point, which we're still, we haven't seen that because the software still has to be written, but DAOs, right? Distributed autonomous organizations will enable the efficient structures in society that will allow that type of help to be delivered and that type of support to be given to everybody in society.
Awesome. And that's beautiful. DAOs, they don't, it's all programming code. So they don't care, again, where you are. They don't care what your stature is. They don't care if you got a $100,000 banking license or any of that craziness. They're just going to do exactly what they're programmed to do. And there's really not a damn thing anybody can do about it. So that's pretty awesome. Anything to add there, Alex, on the subject?
Yeah, like the DAO aspect is a really cool concept. And I think it's definitely in the trial stages right now. I haven't seen anything perfected yet. It's something we've been struggling with our meetup group in Vancouver here. We're trying to establish kind of a decentralized autonomy in order to do sort of governance model that way. So it's something I'm hopeful for, and I'm looking for options with. So hopefully in the next 6 months we can have a viable solution in an alpha stage.
Very interesting. I mean, these types of DAOs, they're typically programmed with platforms like Ethereum, right? I mean, they need some type or counterparty.
Right.
They need some type of language above the Bitcoin.
Right. Exactly. Different than or above. Yeah. Counterparty is a great resource, I think, for smart contracts and DAOs of all types. I mean, they ported the Ethereum code base into Ethereum in like a weekend into a counterparty. So it's something that can be run on top of Bitcoin, and you can leverage a lot of the security of the Bitcoin blockchain. In fact, all of it, even though you're trading tokens, counterparty colored coins, they're still, Bitcoin, they're still one Satoshi. So they have all the security of the Bitcoin blockchain. And I'd like to point out that, Alex, you're almost right about saying that it's not quite ready yet, but actually, if you look at it in a philosophical base way, Bitcoin itself could be considered the first decentralized or distributed autonomous organization.
Yeah. It bootstrapped itself from nothing. That's true. Very interesting. Very interesting. So so basically, in order to create a DAO right now today, your main options are, just to make sure I got this right, are Ethereum, Counterparty, and Rootstock.
It sounds like it. I don't know. I'm definitely have read things about other DAO smart contract platforms. I mean, Purse.io is coming out with a smart contract platform. I mean,
that's right.
Logically speaking, as far as I'm aware, I'm not an expert in the field or anything, but I think that you can build a DAO on any as long as you have smart contracts, as long as you can write code, I mean, even you can make a DAO with the 21 computer. I mean, that's just a way to interface money protocol along with your code base. You don't need, you'd have to probably write a bunch of contract code from scratch that you don't need to, because it's already been done. The logic behind, smart contracts, you probably don't need to write from scratch, but you could, and you could just write it all in C++ or Java and hook it up to your Bitcoin computer.
Interesting. Yeah. So then, it seems that this new smart contract platform that was just released today, or sorry, the just information was released about it today, it was kind of just unveiled briefly today in a blog post, and that seems interesting too. The smart contract platform. So that'll be another addition to things like Ethereum, where it will allow you to essentially take advantage of smart contracts, and really that's just another piece. Another building block of all the building blocks that Bitcoin provides to create applications with. Multi-sig is another building block that you can use, and so you put all these building blocks together to build applications. And I'm getting really excited about all of these different platforms that are come out. I wonder if there's just going to be a wash of different platforms, just like there are APIs. Just a bunch of different APIs for doing the things you want to do. Like there's a Google Maps API, there's an API for there's a map API for something else, and so on and so forth. Or do you think we're going to consolidate and kind of just have a few main actual contract platforms, smart contract platforms, for anybody who wants to answer?
Well, I think whatever one kind of gains critical mass first is going to be the one that's adopted. That was kind of how Bitcoin itself moved from even like a small group of people into a DAO. It eventually gained critical mass that the kind of the so-called leader Satoshi was able to step away, and then it could operate as a DAO. As for smart contracts, I think Ethereum's probably got a pretty good head start in terms of funding and everything. And even watching their DevCon 1 video, they have a lot of projects that are kind of in the middle to early stages, and even some getting in release stages now. One being Colony is a DAO platform where they have a token and they allow for organizing a DAO. It's something that we're looking into right now and reading more about, but it's definitely interesting stuff. That being said, yeah, I think Ethereum is probably the one to look at for smart contracts.
Awesome.
I'm not sure I'm sold on that, Alex. I hate to go off on a long, debate or anything, but Ethereum has some major problems, not least of which was that they raised their money in Bitcoin at the peak of the 2013 bubble and lost 3/4 of their funding through devaluation on the market. And they had planned lots of stuff that I was really surprised that they had extended the scope of the project so much just because they raised 15 million. I think they should have stayed the course and stayed really lean. I think that's what happens when you have an inexperienced leader a lot of times with projects like this. He's very young, very intelligent, but very young. And that due to mismanagement, they are much farther behind than they were planning to be at this point. They've got a bunch of incomplete implementations of the code. I do think seems like it's really well designed, but it's an altcoin. Ether is an altcoin, no matter which way you slice it. Currently, proof of work, just like Bitcoin, it's competing for a very similar market. And as I pointed out, Counterparty can do virtually everything Ethereum can, possibly with greater security, just because Bitcoin is a faster network. So that's an uphill climb. Ether is doing well in the market. It has a good image right now, and it's going to depend on what people end up using. I think we're going to have some large players. Ethereum could be a big player along with Bitcoin, possibly. It all depends on the networking. So these blockchains are natural networks, of course, but you could also have, like I said, Java on a silo in somebody's computer or in the cloud, in a cloud account that's just getting ready to do something. In 2062, it's going to release Satoshi's Bitcoin to some, you could have, it's totally decentralized. So just because you've got the capability of having a smart contract doesn't mean that there's going to be only widely used platforms. There's going to be bits of code doing all sorts of things, jumping in and out of blockchains and other types of crypto in the future. It's going to be a wide landscape with some large networks as well.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, we're just kind of, I too, I'm just kind of used to our centralized internet right now. I'm just used to like only having a few choices, and for certain things like that, like let's see, for maps, it's basically Google or maybe one other open source, thing. And so I'm trying to wrap my head around that, but that's what people need to expect is in the future, all of these crypto, I guess, are just going to be a huge wide berth of platforms that you can't even count because because of this permissionless innovation that Bitcoin allows for, there's just going to be platforms all over the place. And yeah, like Alex said, a few will gain momentum, and maybe those are the ones that will stand out the most. But I guess there really is just going to be unlimited almost. It's just going to be a huge marketplace. So that's going to be fascinating to watch. Can't wait to see what the platform looks like that Purse is going to announce or that it's going to fully unveil, because they just kind of made an announcement today. Today's just Monday, so hopefully we'll find out more about that later in this week and report about it again on next week about what we think about it. Let's see. Alex, do you see? Is your buddy Greg still coming in?
I'm not sure. It looks like he's still watching. So,
Greg, get in here. That's cool. Yeah, the more people, the merrier. If Greg can't make it, we welcome anybody to go ahead and join in. All you have to do is just click that call in button, and we'll have you on the air here, live talking Bitcoin. So we're about to start our next topic. If everybody could go ahead and tweet out that what we're doing here, we're having a good time talking Bitcoin. Get more people in here, the more the merrier. And of course, the show we're always uploaded afterwards to World Crypto Network on the YouTube channel and the SoundCloud channel, so you can always watch there as well. But it's pretty cool to participate in the Blab because live in the Blab chat room, because we have the chat room over here. We got people asking questions on the left, and so it's a good time if everybody wants to check us out. We'll try to do these shows every Monday at 8 p.m. We moved actually from Saturday to Monday to hopefully allow for more guests to be able to join in, and it seems to be working pretty well so far. We got a lot more guests since I switched it to Monday. So Monday at 8 p.m. guys, Pacific time. Go ahead and join us. Let's move on to the next topic. Here we go. Bitcoin's big challenge in 2016, reaching 100 million users. Paste the link into the chat for everybody. So Alex, what do you think about this story?
I think it's a really hard metric to measure because there's no real outline of what is a Bitcoin user. Like, could it just be a node? You consider one node as a user, or the amount of transactions, the related transactions with different addresses, kind of creates more of a linking sort of effect. But it all comes down to just analytics on the blockchain. And I think scaling up, 1 million users just seems totally attainable. We have a lot to kind of figure out before then to allow for that, because the blocks are getting pretty full right now.
You mean 100 million?
You mean 100 million users is the article. But yeah, the article says the 2016 Bitcoin challenge 100 million users, but I think you're right. It's absolutely difficult to find a 100% perfect measurement of what is a Bitcoin user, because as a Bitcoin user, like you said, maybe somebody who just wants to send a quick transaction on Coinbase just one time and completely done with it, or as a Bitcoin user, a person who uses Bitcoin every day. And so these metrics are going to be pretty difficult to actually measure and stuff in the future, and really. It's going to be almost impossible until we get much more sophisticated software and much more consensus around this type of the software and how we're going to allow it to actually trace the information throughout the blockchain. Gabriel, what do you think about this story? Challenge of Bitcoin trying to get to 100 million users in 2016.
Well, I think that the headline is misleading. Jackson's article does not say we got to get to 100 million this year. It just says we should be thinking about, providing the service that is going to get to 100 million eventually. And he makes the comparison with Skype, which I think is an interesting analogy to Bitcoin, from telecoms centralized to VoIP, right? We're now going from banks centralized to MOIP, money over IP. And I think that's a good comparison, and it is a good analogy. Skype to blockchain.info is pretty interesting. Yeah, Alex raises I think a really, really great point, which is metrics in decentralized systems, kind of tend to be binary a lot of times. You've got either totally hard numbers, hash rate, or you've got just complete guess, which is number of users, right? We've got Google searches. People look at a lot of traders will look at the Google searches as a midterm indicator for their trades. So it's really hard to say where we're at. Obviously, 10 million wallets, first of all, according to publicly available data. So that's a lot of commercial wallets, but you don't really know how many private wallets is, and there's certainly a lot more than 10 million addresses already been registered on the blockchain. So I am interested to know that unknowable data, just because if you can chart something like that, then you can really get an idea of the value of the Bitcoin network. If you can tell how many, if you can say what's the rate, is it 3x a year, 2x? It seems like 2x actually.
Yeah, so traditionally, really the only metric we've kind of had, the solid metric, is wallets. That's kind of what we've been trying to call users, and that's the metric that we use when we say that, Bitcoin usage or Bitcoin users has increased. Really, that's kind of our primary metric that people go off of, is just the wallets. And like you said, that's pretty inefficient. When you
inaccurate. It's you're assuming that all the wallets you don't know about are balancing out all the double wallets that you're counting twice. For each person who has more than one wallet, you're assuming that the number of wallets you don't know about is equal to the multiple wallets in the ones you do know about, which is relatively baseless.
Yep. And so I also think, too, just a side comment on this article, I think that trying to focus on growing the network to 100 million users this year, I disagree, and don't think that should really be the focus, because right now we're still trying to build the basics and get blockchain consensus, block size consensus, and things like that. And so I really think that we need to be building out much more of the user friendliness, much more of the user interfaces, much more of the main problems that we see stopping Bitcoin from really scaling before we start worrying about trying to get 100 million users in here. I mean, I think we need to worry. I think we've got much bigger problems to worry about. What do you guys think about that? I mean, we can't be growing too quickly, right? Alex?
Well, yeah, I think you raise a good point, because like if we start looking at something like side chains, like what I'm reading in the question here, allowing Bitcoin to be used as a settlement system and all these layers to be attached to Bitcoin, those are kind of using the tool to its full extent, right, before trying to sell it to everyone. The idea with the side chains and even having like off-chain transactions, going back to the topic with users, earlier in the year, we heard the story about a German bank that was allowing Bitcoin transactions to all their customers. Well, maybe none of them will ever use it, or maybe they won't even realize they are using it, but they can still be considered users. So this is the type of adoption that we'll start to see, is that the framework is being implemented more. And that's really, I think, what we need to strive for, is that we see infrastructure being expanded more, seeing new miners come on the scene, and like better uses
maybe
of the protocol.
Some more decentralization on the mining front before we try to run 100 million users through China, through China's mining rigs and stuff like that. So yeah, anything to add on that, Greg or Gabriel?
No, I'm good. I mean, I think I agree with you. It's a lot of UX that's between here and 100 million. But if we've got 2 million users now, that's still a number of doubling. So 100 million is probably several years away, and I completely agree that we're not ready for 100 million now anyway. So it's a great thing about a decentralized system. It handles as much as it can handle, and if the market dynamics and game theory is built into it right, that people will stop using it once it becomes not useful, and it will need to change and develop, and it will maintain that Nash equilibrium regardless.
Awesome. Very true. Very true. one of the other things I love about Bitcoin, all the damn game theory mechanics built into it. That keeps it honest. I love it. Yeah. So as Alex said, we do have a question here. I'd like to just answer before we move on to the next topic. By Acarn, if sidechains connect with Bitcoins, would multiple transactions just show up as a single user? Alex, do you want to take this?
Well, I'm not technically expertise on it, but I think the sidechain would register its own transactions, and like they would be stored on that chain. So like there'd be one transaction of like the token leaving our chain and going to the sidechain, and then there could be several thousand transactions there, and then that comes back as one transaction. So this is, I guess, kind of more of a scaling question, but to define that as a user, again, like the term user is just not applicable, I don't think, at all in Bitcoin. I think it's kind of like saying how many people use hammers. It's like, we don't really know.
Very true. Yeah, you just can't really currently define what a user is on the blockchain at this point, because everything is just code. The only user is the code, almost, Gabriel, anything to add on this question?
No, I don't really understand sidechains yet. Apparently, Liquid is a functioning bidirectional sidechain, but until I see some more examples of it actually doing things, I'm not really convinced that it can work. Not like Lightning, where it's just a simple combination of existing technologies. Sidechains seem to require quite a bit of innovation still, so I'm curious to see what actually happens.
Yep, absolutely great concept. And I do think I said this in the last show. I do think that sidechains this year in 2016 is going to be one of the main things that the Bitcoin community focuses on trying to improve or better explain or create projects around and things like that. So I think that the focus, sidechains is going to be one of the focuses this year for the Bitcoin community. So that's pretty cool. Let's see, we've got a couple new people joining us in the room. Hey, how you doing, Ryan? How you doing, Acarn? Nice to see you guys in here. And Enlightened joined the room as well. We're about to start the next topic, so if you guys want to go ahead and tweet out to your friends and followers that we're having a good time here talking Bitcoin, we're about to move on to the next topic. Let's see here. Paste that into the chat room. So this topic is a fun one. It has to do with the price. The article is why I'm predicting $650 of Bitcoin in 2016. This was this guy's particular prediction by the end of the year. So this is after the halving and after it settles down and such. So at the end of the year, this guy was predicting about $650 of Bitcoin. And he's got, several good points in there and several reasons why he, very logical reasons why he's stating that is going to be his price and things like that. And I just wanted to see what you guys think about this. Alex, tell me, what do you think about this price range?
Well, the rationale is sound. Like if you look at Bitcoin before the last pump was around $150, and then it kind of settled at around double at $300 for a good chunk of the year, or kind of that rundown afterwards. So to say like after the next rise we're gonna be double again is kind of a reasonable expectation. But there's just so many more players in the game now. Like who knows where we could settle or how high we could go. I know one thing is that every bubble has been smaller in terms of percentage every time. So to say we hit like $2,000 and then settle around $650, I think kind of fits that kind of trend line of the pumps have been getting smaller in terms of the return if you bought the top of each. Just because the last one was of around 4x of increase in value, and now we're going to see hopefully around 2x increase in value from 1,200 to 2,400. That's just my thinking and my kind of crackpot theory.
Yeah, we all got our own theories because there's just so much data to actually contemplate that it's almost impossible to fully predict, and of course the decentralized nature of the system and the network itself too also lends itself to crazy amounts of leeway either way. So Gabriel, what do you think about this price range?
I think it's total bullshit, and I think Alex's reasoning there is also totally full of shit. Rochelle Ross is, a stopped clock is right twice a day. 650. It's just completely out of her ass. I don't agree with Alex that that she's got anything to stand on here with her analysis at all. Completely bullshit. Total bullshit. I like the content of the article in every other way, though. It's great. She's talking about some really important key fundamental developments in the Bitcoin ecosystem and the news and everything. I think it's really, she's singled out some really excellent things, which is great. The maturing conversation. I love that. You don't see as many obituaries. Only people who are totally out of it, that are, drunk on Keynesian madness, whatever, say something like that nowadays. It's all up in the air. And people have a very, very strong idea that they're on the wrong side of history if they are completely dismissing Bitcoin and blockchain tech. But as far as her price predictions, I'm going to say she's probably completely wrong. I have a feeling that the halvening is going to have a huge effect and that it's totally not priced in at all. But I don't think there's going to be that much development in the way of, outsize sudden adoption. I think the adoption is going to be relatively steady, but the halvening is going to cause a ramp in the price. Sort of similar to last time, maybe a little bit less steep, as Alex pointed out, because the ecosystem is larger. But on the other hand, it could just be that much. It could be the same percentage-wise and a lot steeper on a linear chart. So last time we had the halvening in November 2012, and we saw the price double. I believe it was from $5 to $12 in weeks. Then it stayed level for a few weeks and then began doubling over and over again. It doubled to 24 and then 48. Then in March, it doubled twice more.
Wow.
Then it broke down and leveled out around 80. So in that case, really that whole ramp up, I mean, it really depends on how you break down a chart, and it's hard to say what causes what, but I'm pretty sure that the consistent amount of fiat bleeding into the Bitcoin ecosystem during 2012 probably didn't change that much in the beginning, which has caused the quick doubling in price. And then the rest of the ecosystem noticed that and responded to it. I have a feeling that traders and bots, algos as they call them, are not going to really catch what's going on. People aren't going to keep them from going out of control, and I think we're going to have a major run-up toward the end of the year, possibly. If things follow how it did last time, I think that's what we're going to see, and I don't think people are smart enough to magically price in that now. I don't buy that at all. So I think we're going to see a quick doubling from wherever it is in July.
Interesting.
And then we're going to have, maybe a speculative run up after that. So that could shoot it up, over the fall and winter time.
So that you're saying that could shoot it up well over $2,000?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you're looking at it Fibonacci wise, then I think 4,000-ish, and then dropping back down to, the top of the previous bubble, which may be 1,000 or 1,200 or 1,500 or 800.
Wow.
Next year.
I think everybody in Bitcoin would definitely love to see those kind of numbers. Anything above 1,000 really would definitely set a lot of people right. So
yeah, I think something that type of move will induce a lot of confidence in the currency, even though a lot of people will lose money. Of course, they're going to buy at 2,000 and 3,000 and they'll still lose money. But it will be such a confirmation of the bubble popping, volatility, that it will have a large effect on the psychological, perception of the price.
Very true. And what's really interesting too is that when it goes up, I think I agree with you, because I just don't think that people are going to be able to actually price this in. I mean, we know that the market is usually pricing stuff in, but seriously, at this point, there's nothing that's ever existed like Bitcoin before. And so we only had like one other halving before. And so I think that the market has no idea what the hell is going to happen. Just like you said, Gabriel, I think that there's going to be so many people still new into Bitcoin. So many people this is going to be all over the news. People are going to see this and they're going to jump in and, like you said, buy at every price. They're going to be buying at 2,000. They're going to be buying at 1,000, buying at 2,000. They're going to be buying at 3,000. And I think it's just going to bring in, again, a whole new branch of people. But we are not advanced enough to where we have like all the professional day traders in Bitcoin. We have a few. And so those few are not going to be able to manage the craziness that's going to ensue, like you said. So I think that, my original guesstimates really were maybe around the halving going over the previous high, for sure, around 1,200, going above that, but then selling back down to around this price, around between 650 and 850, really is what I kind of predicted. That's, of course, a very
conservative,
very conservative thing, but that's about what I think. But when I start thinking about what you say, Gabriel, which is there's just no idea, people just have no idea how far this can go. Then yeah, I mean, you really start to picture, because I was there for the last one, and the last bubble ramped up to 1,200, and I tell you, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I mean, it was 300, then an hour later it was freaking 400, and then by the end of the day it was like 600 or 700, and people just absolutely were going mad. They just couldn't believe what the hell was going on. So really interesting stuff. It's going to be really interesting to see the halving for everybody who wants to watch the craziness. Is going to be in July, I believe, end of July. So mid to end of July. So it's going to be here, and it's really going to, again, like Gabriel said, further prove that the resiliency of this currency. This thing is not going anywhere. And what's really interesting is going to be when we start reaching parity with gold again, because I believe that after this halving, we should definitely be reaching parity with gold, and that's going to again drive more headlines everywhere. When one Bitcoin is that much. So. We actually have somebody trying to join in real quick. So let's see, Spy Gadget Rentals. Let's say hi to him real quick. Let him in the room. Hey, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. What's your name, Monty?
Right, Monty Henry. Right.
Nice to meet you. So tell me, Monty, how long you been following the show?
I just tuned into the show. I've been following the subject for quite a while, but I've been waiting on someone to reintroduce the topic.
Awesome. Yeah.
Right.
So we're here every Monday, Monty. So if you want to join in, man, I'll be more than happy to welcome you into the chat and discuss the topics.
Okay. What time do you start on Monday?
So every Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific, we're here.
Oh, okay. That's cool. 8 p.m. Pacific?
Yes, sir.
Cool. So carry on. What
So let me ask you, Monty. So then let me ask you, what do you think about this price range, about it being around 650 by the end of the year, and about it not going too much into the halving? What do you think about the price range and what the halving is going to cause it?
Yeah, well, I can see 650 as being towards the high end, mainly because it looks like we're gaining some traction. From as far as I can tell, a number of banks, they've moved from saying that Bitcoin, doesn't fit, doesn't work with their models. They moved away from saying, this is just a fad or something associated with the porn and the money laundering and all this. Now they're starting to realize, look, we got to partner with these startups that are innovating with the Bitcoin and the blockchain technology. So it looks like they've turned completely 360, and now they're starting to buy up, partner with, and bring on board, the people from the Bitcoin startup space. And it looks like, I don't know, someone said a long time ago, there was a saying where something about first you shun them and then you laugh at them. And then, there's a few more steps, and all of a sudden, then in the end, you end up joining them or giving in or something. So it looks like that's exactly what they're doing as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I really think, I think that's about right. The conversation certainly has changed from the beginning of 2015 to the end of 2015. We started out with with Bitcoin was bad, blockchain is good, and now we're getting to
Right.
getting to blockchain is good and Bitcoin is good. Still got a little ways to go before the Bitcoin is good, but I think that really in 2016, after the halving, people are going to start saying Bitcoin is good, because it's going to bring in so many more people again during the halving. The last halving brought in just tons of media, tons of new people. I think we're going to be all over CNN. We're going to be all over MSNBC. All of those channels that discuss this type of stuff.
Well, it's interesting
Right.
you mentioned media too, because with this last little run-up, we heard tons of the word blockchain, not much Bitcoin, and I think I only read one article that even mentioned
Right.
the halving. So to say that, or like right now, they're trying to get the public or even institutions on the idea of blockchain, and then that makes it easier to swallow Bitcoin. And then
Right.
if we lead into the summer, I'll start telling the public again about the halving. Oh, well, I should buy it then. Yeah, that seems like a good time.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Right. Someone mentioned that, having blockchain without Bitcoin was like having email separate and apart from TCP or something, two essential things that just go together. They're trying to separate out, but eventually I think they're going to understand, look, you can't have the highway without the cars. Let's get the car on the highway, and then we'll get a chance to really see something, go on. So yeah, eventually they're gonna stop playing around with just focusing on blockchain, and hopefully I'm hoping that they won't water down the blockchain too much, because as Andreas Antonopoulos talked about, they have their own generic watered down version of the blockchain, and it strips the blockchain of everything that makes it important for us as rebels and revolutionaries and liberals, or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, once we get past watering it down in their own version of the blockchain, and then sooner or later they're going to start to embrace the real blockchain, the real technology, understand the significance of why it's set up the way it's set up, and then go forward. That then we'll really see.
I still think we're a little ways away from that. As Alex said, they're still trying to push us blockchain, private blockchains and stuff. But as all of you probably are aware, this is repeating the internet. Back in the day, everybody wanted to build their own internet. They wanted to build their own with ISDN and CompuServe and stuff. And so it seems that we're repeating that, again, and it will be, I think, only a matter of time before they realize the real money is going to be in the public internet, the public Bitcoin blockchain, where permissionless innovation can flourish. So that's awesome. Thanks for the comments, Monty. That's great.
That's a very, very good point. Yeah, very good point.
Right. Yeah, I guess people, well, sorry, real quick. I just want to say, I guess people are saying that, a good comparison, really, a private blockchain really is nothing more than a database. It's nothing more than a SQL database, really. You can use it to certain advantages, I guess, if you're a bank and things for settling and things. But at the end of the day, if you're using private blockchains, you might as well just use a SQL database.
Right. Yeah, it makes no sense. I was listening to a YouTube video where Citibank and some bank in Spain and a few major banks were talking about, how they're focusing on blockchain type of technology, and how they were apprehensive about being involved, but more apprehensive about not being involved. So it's like they don't want to take their eyes off of it, but at the same time, they understand it's going to be crucial to their business model, because it's going to take out all of the inefficiencies. And when it comes to saving money, you really have to go. You really have to go with those companies that are saving money. And remittances is that huge market of $70 billion a year, whatever it is. It's gonna attract a lot of people to it. So yeah, they can play around with it, but they're gonna get run over if they don't get on top of this quickly. True.
All right. Anybody else got anything to say on that topic? No. Okay. Cool. All right. So we're about to move on to the next topic. If everybody could go ahead and could go ahead and tweet out. You can click the tweet button there in the top left-hand corner. Tweet out from Blab, or you can do your own tweet, your own manual tweet. But if everybody could, share, and Facebook and tweet out the show, let everybody know what we're doing here. We're talking Bitcoin here this Monday evening. See if more people want to join us. Appreciate all the people sharing out the show.
Okay, I'm gonna bow out and just listen to you guys. And could you guys elaborate on the side chains a little bit? According to what I understand, it seems like it's a sandbox, or a way to experiment with things that we're considering doing with the blockchain, And before we introduce anything, we can experiment with the side chains. That's what I thought it was. But anyway, I'm gonna bow
Sure,
and just
appreciate it.
listen to you
Thanks,
guys,
Monty.
okay?
Yeah,
Great.
take
Thank you.
care.
Take
On the
care.
subject of the side chains, yeah, I'll let Gabriel answer this too. But basically, yeah, side chains really, what the whole purpose of it was to be able to expand the on the blockchain without actually having to record transactions on the blockchain. Yeah, Gabriel, what do you think? What was the main reason of sidechains? It was for experimentation, so we don't have to actually write everything to the main blockchain, right?
Not quite. You're maybe talking about subchains, which is just a way to include more transactions in the same amount of space, but by having sort of settlement. Treating the blocks as settlements and then having transactions in between them that kind of resolve amongst themselves. But side chains are a way to use an alternate code base. I mean, really, you're actually putting Bitcoin aside. You're taking it out of the main blockchain and putting it in another blockchain with its own miners and its own code base. But there's still you've taken the Bitcoin out of circulation for that time, so it is actually, you're actually able to leverage the security of the blockchain with settlements back or bidirectional, moving the Bitcoin in and out of the sidechain. But you can have totally different code in that sidechain. You can use a completely different code base, as far as I'm aware of, or at least. You can use, differences. You still have transactions and things like that, I guess. But it's a way to try out different code, completely different code. It doesn't necessarily have to be an experiment, and it doesn't necessarily have to make its way back into the Bitcoin blockchain. It could just be a different thing, and it's a great way to try out software without having to create an altcoin from scratch and bootstrap it. You're actually taking the Bitcoin out of the main blockchain and doing other things with it.
Okay, so that makes sense. All right, yeah. So if you wanted to leverage the security of the main Bitcoin blockchain, but run your own code base, you can.
Not necessarily, because when you go back to the Bitcoin blockchain, you'll be able to leverage it. But while you're in the side chain, you're probably going to have lower security, because I'm pretty sure that not all the miners are going to be able to run that code. So you have to depend. So a side chain is going to need to be promoted like an altcoin. But the advantage is that you're still bolstering, you're bringing that business, you're bringing that usage to the original Bitcoin blockchain without watering down the value in the cryptocurrency space.
Okay, fascinating. Yeah, and you said, I think the only real sidechain kind of in use right now is Liquid. I think that's the only actual sidechain really in use, and that was
mentioned in the article. The next article,
and that was created by Blockstream, right?
Right. Yeah.
Blockstream. Yeah. They created the sidechain concept, if you will. They wrote the white paper on it, I believe.
Yeah, I think the guys formed the company. I think after writing the white paper, they realized they wanted to have a formal entity to do some Bitcoin experiments, I guess you could say, or a bit code projects.
Cool, very cool. All right, yeah, that is in the next article, I believe, mentioned in the next article. So we're moving on here to the next article. This one is going to be kind of fun. Basically, this article is kind of highlighting the top Bitcoin blockchain startups to watch in 2016, and I wanted to bring this up with you guys just to see what you guys think. If there's any startups you're particularly excited about for 2016, or any ones that you think will more than likely succeed. I just want to see what you guys think about that. So, Alex, tell me any of these blockchains mentioned, any of these startups mentioned in the article that you're looking forward to, or is there other ones?
Well, T0, I'm very interested in finding out what chain they're using, because they've been very, I guess, secretive about it. And for a while, I think everyone was just thinking they were going to go full counterparty, and that was going to be it. But now it sounds like they're maybe going a little further and doing their own private chain, or there's one of the other asset networks that maybe they're planning on using. We just don't know. But they say that they're allowed to have any digital asset be transferred on their system. So very exciting indeed. And then Open Bazaar is a group that I've talked with before on my show Block Talk, and I'm immensely excited about it because I wouldn't mind seeing some healthy competition for, hey Greg, healthy competition for eBay and maybe Alibaba and a lot of these other online sellers.
Awesome.
We have a council going on over here, Council of Two.
Hey Greg, how you doing, man?
Well, we're going to reach consensus before we talk about anything, okay?
Yeah, what's our consensus?
Yeah.
Have a seat. Let's chill with these guys.
Okay.
All right. We're in Vancouver with Greg Peacock and Alex Stirk.
Guys, sorry to interrupt your dialogue.
No problem. You guys are in Canada?
That's correct, yep.
More Canadians. Look at all this. Bitcoin is flourishing in Canada. That's awesome.
We're the Bitcoin capital of the universe.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Very cool.
We're treating it as we speak. See, we're just
let's see.
Doing some stuff here.
All right.
That's weekly on Bitfinex.
Hey, Greg, you can't see it. We can't see that. It looks like nothing. We can't see it.
What?
See it? I couldn't see it.
I don't want to
give
away
a little bit.
Although I could probably tell you some of his secrets, but you don't want to know.
Yeah, you probably don't want to. This is a family show, right?
It's a family show.
Yeah.
A little bit of a family show. We try to. Yeah, I tried to actually. I wanted to make it laid back. For people. I didn't want it to make it PG or anything like that, but I definitely wanted to make it laid back, so it's kind of like everybody's just hanging out in one room talking Bitcoin. Talking shop.
Excellent. So, sorry for diverging there. What were you guys talking about before? Maybe we can jump in on that.
Sure. So the last we just started a new topic here, and basically it was the article that I pasted in there. We're talking about what we think are the top blockchain startups for 2016, or what startups we want to be looking at for 2016. And Alex mentioned one. I think he only mentioned one. You think, right, Alex?
Oh, I mentioned two. Yeah,
Okay.
T0, the Overstocked project, and then also Open Bazaar, which. Me and Freddie have worked together to interview those guys, and it's a really cool project, and I'm really hopeful for it.
Awesome. So Greg, you guys, sorry, it's Gregory, and what's the other guy's name?
Ready.
So Greg and Freddie. Let me ask you, what do you guys have on your agenda, on your list for startups in 2016 to look for?
Can I? Oh.
Are you guys leaving?
Yeah. Okay. So
okay, go ahead.
So there's a local company in town that is putting together a incubator, and one of the projects is called Taurus. It's a Bitcoin exchange, and one of the things they're working on, which is really cool, it's not just a Bitcoin exchange. They're trying to do what Bitfinex is doing and all those guys. They're going to get into futures trading, so they're trying to develop, and they're a child company, or they're being incubated under Quadrica Financial, which is one of the only exchanges on the planet that has a Barclays insurance policy with every deposit. You know what I'm saying? So they're getting into the futures thing, and that's something that I can't say it's hush-hush because I don't think I'd be able to say it.
Anymore.
It's not hush-hush anymore. But yeah, so I think it's pretty exciting that we have a North American exchange that's going to have a futures trading platform within probably the next 6 months at the latest. You know what I'm saying? So that's it's called Taurus, and it's operated by a Russian gentleman. And that's in Canada right now, who's dating a Colombian girl who makes soap and stuff like that. She's lovely. So yeah,
Awesome.
That's one of the ones on my list anyway.
She makes lip balm too, actually.
She makes lip balm. Is that it there?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
It's really good stuff.
Yeah, there we go. That's yeah. Wow.
Cool.
So that's
All right.
what I for local anyway.
Well, that's really interesting. I guess for me, in terms of technology, I'm very excited about Open Bazaar. I think that's really going to open up a lot of international use cases, which is what I'm really excited about. I know you guys were talking earlier about remittance, and I think
that's huge.
I think that's where we're going to get our critical mass.
Yeah, and Augur too, probably, right?
Because people's lives are going to be immediately affected in a significant way, getting access to a financial system. Whereas for us, it's more sexy and enjoyable, and we can dream about these big changes. But those people can be helped right now.
Yep.
And we're very close to being able to realize that in many different places, the Philippines especially. So something like Open Bazaar provides the kind of service that'll also have that kind of influence. I think it'll really open up the ability for businesses to become more decentralized. Supply chains, especially for products that come from the third world, are incredibly complex. The farmers or the producers don't really get anything. And it's all the middlemen that take all the profit. So this will really, I think, change how people interact.
Yeah. What do you think of Augur?
Well, that
you guys talked about Augur at all?
So maybe.
Oh, we haven't talked about Augur yet. No.
Yeah. So
Who's the expert on Augur?
I know.
can talk to
Augur.
you a little bit.
Yeah, Gabriel can talk to you a little bit about it.
I'll talk to you a little bit about Augur.
It's a sexy one.
So, well, do you want to okay, let's move on to Augur for a second. Augur is a decentralized prediction marketplace. There was a legal American prediction marketplace called, I believe, InnoTrade. Is that right? I think so. InnoTrade, or yeah, is that right? Yeah. No, InTrade. They were shut down because by the government, because prediction markets are extremely antithetical to the centralization of the flow of information. So governments control propaganda, they control media outlets as best they can. Prediction markets allow people to determine odds of events with frightening accuracy using the wisdom of crowds. It turns out the average of everybody's idea is oftentimes extremely accurate. And what you can do is, it not only does it literally allow dissemination of information from the future, so to speak, really odds and probabilities. It also, it can affect events as well, because you've got, with decentralized situations, you've got the possibility for fraud or just nefarious dealings where you're like, hey, I think XYZ is going to get assassinated by Thursday. And then, oh, lo and behold, he got assassinated. Look, I won the bet. So it's a really, yeah, so assassination markets, I'm sure, will be a part of, if not Augur, then another one. It might be a dark section of it, but that's going to be there too. Not only, so Open Bazaar, you'll be able to pay somebody to assassinate, and in Augur, you'll be able to bet on whether they'll be dead or not. It's very dark shit. On the other hand, they enable the first, decentralized and widely available, probability information source. This is where everyone's going to be hooking up to the APIs, decentralized APIs, in order to get this data, and you'll be able to set up software and DAOs that are dependent on future events. So it's the implications of a decentralized prediction market are impossible to break down into a small sentence. The implications are absolutely enormous to totally turn inside out our entire culture, so to speak. That's
I think maybe one way to break it down into one sentence is, really, Augur will predict the future, like nothing we've ever seen before, because we've never been able to harness the power of crowds like this before.
You think that's going to transcend time? You think we'll transcend time after that?
I don't know. I'd tell you one thing. The Augur will really, really, really bring a whole lot of additional wealth to the world. I think that people don't even understand yet, because when the average Joe can actually put in his prediction and then make money off of it, where you couldn't before, you'd have to go through centralized systems and then they take their cuts and stuff like that. When the whole world can have a betting mechanism, with something that they care about, so the odds are usually in their favor because they're betting on something that they care about. That's huge. I think that could seriously supplement some people's incomes, in other countries.
Yeah, you can make. You're bringing the profit model to charity, to what do you believe? Do you believe in war? Do you believe in peace? You could set up a giant bet. It's like a call option on the lack of terrorist attacks or lack of war. And then all you have to do is say, okay, we're going to make millions because a bunch of people think there's going to be terrorist attacks. Then all you do is you take You take, you make an investment. You put together, you pay 12,000 people that are all spiritual and shit to go and meditate. It's a fine scientific fact that if you meditate a bunch of people, you'll stop terrorist attacks. You could get rich. Then you just get more powerful that way. But you could do it the opposite way too, with murders and wars. Oh, there's going to be a war between X and Y. Hey, we won. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I think you're referring to that one time where the meditation was like, I think it was 10,000 people. Maybe a little bit more than that, maybe 15,000 people, but they meditated and they stopped world crime by 75% for 24 hours.
Terrorism too, terrorist attacks as well.
They literally did it. Well, people just don't understand that everything is connected and that all of our minds are connected. That kind of to put it shortly, everything is one. But people don't understand how we're connected to the earth and how we're connected to each other. And there's experiments like this that we're doing and that actually confirm that, hey, we are all connected. Another experiment that's like that is that went around the world. They asked people questions and then gave nobody the answers. They asked people specific questions. And every time they went around the world asking the questions more in isolated groups, people got more and more answers right, because the right answer went into the collective consciousness of everybody on earth. So these types of things, another test of that was that people run random number machines all over the world. And when a global event happens, all those random number machines start producing the same numbers. So there's all sorts of ways we're starting to measure about how we're actually much more connected to one another than we really think we are. But that's another subject for another day. But for sure, this augur prediction mechanism is going to be absolutely fascinating. So, was that your two, Gabriel?
No, I'd like to recommend a novel to everybody participating right now by John Brunner, and it's called the what is it called? It's a weird name. The something runner. Can somebody Google that? John Brunner.
Dan on Zanzibar?
No, that was his first breakout hit. But his, I believe, second or third novel is the one that he's got prediction markets in it. It's kind of amazing. This book from the 70s, from mid 70s, the Shockwave Rider. It's this view into basically now-ish time, and he predicts mass surveillance. He predicts the web. He predicts prediction markets, centralized prediction markets that are rigged. So he's predicting a time more like, the 2000s when we had powerful digital things, but we didn't have, we didn't have blockchains. We didn't have database network. We didn't have immutability of data. So they were completely, defrauded by governments around the world still. But amazing novel, really good, not too long, great read. Anyways,
very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think Augur could possibly, make possibly be one of the things that helps make the internet or the Bitcoin blockchain sentient. It's part of one of the things that's going to help with that is this being able to harness the crowds of the entire planet. You eventually get a singular consciousness.
Wow, heavy.
The board.
Heavy stuff. So. We won't get it. We won't geek out too much on that kind of stuff. That's for another show. But maybe we should start one of those shows.
Yeah, exactly. We should do that. Definitely, I agree.
Start one of those shows and maybe start educating people on David Wilcock.
I know. I want to learn some of the stuff because you're 2 years ahead of me. Anyway, so coming back to the article, I completely agree with Greg that OpenBazaar is by far the most world-changing thing in this article, and I think this really makes sense because OpenBazaar is not a company, is not only a company. It's actually dark market. That's the thing that's going to change everything. OpenBazaar is really cool, and it's awesome that they've got it. They're trying to make a profit model, and they're going to do specialized XYZ on top of this open source platform that will totally change the world. OpenBazaar, in my opinion, will be the new eBay. That doesn't take 10% off the top, and like Greg mentioned, Greg and Freddie, will enable commerce in the poorest parts of the world and completely lift them out of poverty way faster than anything else could. I'm not sure I agree with him about remittance, though. I think remittance is gonna be a term like telecom, where we don't even. Doesn't really even quite exist anymore, and the whole idea of remittance is just going to seem silly, and we're just going to have MOIP.
That's going to be a
Just-
lot, I think.
Yeah, no, that's like 12 years, but I think it's going to be a gradual sort of pad down in that direction. And I mean, obviously, the fact that we won't need it and we will have instant, transfer everywhere will achieve exactly the ends we're talking about, for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. The whole term remittance. I mean, it's almost like
It's
you think
special.
of the term remittance, and it's like you think of permission. Like
Yeah.
somebody gave me permission to be able to send this money to somebody else.
Yeah, but remittance, I mean, we just call that a Bitcoin transaction now.
Yeah, yeah. In the future, it'll just be called a transaction.
I'm going to remit you some Bitcoin.
Just respond to that for a second, because I think that's a common misconception. We need to give some props to the existing financial system, because it's done a lot of good stuff for us. It's just it needs to be replaced now. And really, what you're doing when you remit money is you're paying somebody to take on the risk of transmitting that value to somebody else.
Yeah.
That's right. So
And the infrastructure.
there is a reason why it has cost, but the system is broken and it allows people to exploit it. And that's what we need to rid ourselves of, right? So we can have a beautiful, frictionless. But
I
there was
completely agree.
some cost, right?
I think that I think you're absolutely right. I completely agree. I'm kind of more just thinking about as far as short term in the next 2 years. I think we're still going to have a lot of trouble getting that last bit. So Abra is trying to do it with cell phones. Western Union has offices, right? So I think it's going to be still really, really rough. I think remittance has 2 more years before it's going to really start to bridge our way into the world of not needing remittance.
So I lived on Bitcoin for 30 days in the Philippines, and I was able to remit money to myself in any convenience store or pawn shop in the country using my phone and Bitcoin. So it completely permeates the financial system there. It just simply doesn't have the critical mass to really expand beyond that.
That's fantastic, though. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
It was really awesome. At one point I was in a town where there was no ATMs, and I was actually helping other people get money because they had no other way of doing it. And I was able to go into a pawn shop, which is basically how everyone receives money there, and just take out as much as I wanted.
They're all prostitutes, but
Dude,
of course they.
you got a whore that doesn't accept Bitcoin? You call yourself a Bitcoiner?
You can all dream for the future in our own way, right?
It's the new tramp stamp.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a QR code.
Totally. Yeah.
Ding.
QR code.
That's what they're gonna. That's the new tramp stamp is a QR code above the chick's butt.
You know what? This is really good. I'm just going to tip you right now. Wait, it's out of focus. Stop moving.
Stop moving so fast.
Okay, wow. Okay, that was funny. I'm like tearing up. Okay.
So my main point was in bringing up the article was that the companies are way, way, way less important than the network technologies that are mentioned in this article, such as the Lightning Network and OpenBazaar. The companies themselves are going to come and go. Profit models start up, then are taken over by decentralized, versions and open source services. And so that's going to be a constant churn, but it's the network, the protocols that will actually extend for a lot longer period of time.
Very true. Very interesting. Yeah, and I'm with all you guys. I think all three of you, all four of you, I guess, mentioned, OpenBazaar, and that was going to be my pick as well. I think that OpenBazaar really, like you said, you guys pretty much all laid it on the table already. But yeah, OpenBazaar is going to give us opportunities, give people opportunities on this planet that has never existed in the history of man. Definitely not in the modern history of having money and central banking. These people, the 6 billion people on the planet who don't have access to the first world financial system, their life is going to about to change absolutely for the better. And this is going to take time. It's going to take years for people to fully understand this and get this, but it is going to be, as Gabriel said, the new eBay, except this is going to be a global eBay. And this is going to not just not take 10%, but we're talking, it's not going to give you all of those fees that eBay has. I mean, if you want to do anything, it's a fee. You want to add an additional picture, that's a fee. You want to add an additional description, that's a fee. You want to, change the theme, that's a freaking fee. So, it's not just the actual markup off the top, but all these additional fees and all this additional friction that comes along with trying to mediate to a seller and a buyer. So I think that I'm with you guys that OpenBazaar is really going to be the shining example that's going to, I think, really wake people's eyes up to Bitcoin coming into 2016. I think that by the end of 2016, we will probably see. Oh Lord, they're using the flashlights. I think that by. Okay, yeah. So I think that by the end of 2016, I think that we really will see thousands of Open Bazaar shops. I think that there'll be at least 5 to 10,000 by the end of 2016.
Oh yeah.
Minimum, 5 to 10,000, and that's just going to be the beginning. Then when we start going into 2017, 2018 era, I think that's where we're going to start to see the critical mass start happening on Bazaar. We're talking over 1 million shops at that point, because at that point the UX, the UI, everything will just be click, 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 done. Everything will be able to be integrated, and be even further down the timeline of people holding even more Bitcoin for merchants. Merchants, I mean, even holding more Bitcoin than they did before, and getting ever closer to that closed loop, the dream of a closed loop system. So
right,
very awesome.
I think that that point is really, really good, which is that Open Bazaar is I forgot my point. Whatever.
Well, yeah, there's Open Bazaar. This stuff is definitely amazing to think about. When we're talking about bringing the whole world together through commerce, it's just going to be an amazing time. Everybody in Bitcoin I know is super excited about it, and really it's just going to uplift everybody, everybody's quality of living and standard of living.
I remembered. I just mad shout out, because if you've looked at their screenshots and their alpha software, great attention to UX.
Yep.
They've hired designers to help them get the basic store fronts together. That is an element that's really, really been rare. That is always rare in nascent computer science projects. So Open Bazaar is the first one actually I've seen that is just dead on the money. I've seen some pretty good wallets, not like what I want to see, but Open Bazaar, I really, as a user experience professional, I give it my stamp of approval.
Yeah, it's looking great. I mean, you'd be able to color all of their UI for changing the colors of your theme and changing and adding products. I mean, this thing is made to be professionally used by people who are familiar with online marketplaces and online bidding places. I mean, this is I followed the blog as well, and impressed every single time they give a new demo. Everything just looks freaking awesome, and it's all client-side based, JavaScript based, so it's just super smooth, super fast. I'm glad that they actually hired professional designers, because it's really, like you said, we really don't see too many professionally designed crypto projects. We see a lot of crypto projects, not so much professionally designed or with a professional UX that's really easy to use, that people are familiar with in the traditional, centralized world, where people get millions of dollars to start up a company that goes out of business 6 months later. So this is the time for people to step up, for the designers out there, for graphic designers, and front end people. If you guys are looking for jobs and stuff like that, or looking for something to be a part of that's going to change the lives of millions of people, definitely try to get into the Bitcoin world. Take a look at all of the projects on GitHub. There is a ton of people that need front end work, that need front end design, that need just a little bit of help. So definitely check that out. It's an absolute space to be a part of, and I think everybody in the Bitcoin community understands that every little thing they do is really helping the entire world. Like, every little thing you do in Bitcoin helps the entire world, because Bitcoin is something that we've never seen before. It's something that it was designed from the ground up to lift the world into a new age of commerce, to lift the world into a new age of society, really, to lift societies up into this next level, just like we had when we first invented time. We lifted everybody's. We equaled out everybody's labor to make sure that you only get 12 hours, you only get 8 hours. We can all agree that this is 8 hours of work. With Bitcoin, we can all agree that this happened at this time. We can all agree that that this particular item was purchased or this particular item was created, and that is powerful. That is what's going to change the world, the public ledger.
Can I jump in there for a second?
Sure, go ahead.
Really on this time travel thing right now, right? Because I've all my other dreams have basically come true. So I'm like, okay, so we're now on to the last one for me, which is time travel. And I think that what you just mentioned, how everything's time stamped and probably maybe coordinate stamped eventually, I think that's going to be an integral part of time travel in the future. You want to go and find something, and we're using a mechanical sort of system or electric, whatever, quantum mechanical system, whatever it is, we still have to locate it in space and time. Because as you know, the planets move through space, right? They don't stay static with their movement the whole solar system moves together, right? So there's a coordinate system that comes with that, plus time, obviously, it's localized. What I'm trying to say is that I really do believe that the blockchain technology is going to have an integral part of time travel in the future. I'm done.
I think not just time travel, but all of those futuristic systems that we think about, even space travel and all these different things. The public ledger is going to have a profound influence on all of these systems, because really it can help tie all of these systems together. Because the singularity is coming. We're reaching the singularity pretty soon, and the technologies that are going to come together between Bitcoin, 3D printing, nanotechnology, artificial intelligence, these types of things are all going to coincide together, and within the next 10 to 15 years. So it's going to be interesting to see how Bitcoin plays a part in all this. But make no mistake, Bitcoin will play a part.
Yeah, it's like Christ before Christ. It'll be like before blockchain and after blockchain.
Yeah, pretty much. Because before blockchain, nobody on the planet could ever prove that anything happened at any one time. Nope. Cannot be done. I mean, even with the DNA testing of testing how old rocks are and things like that, it's it's iffy. It's hit or miss. Nothing can be actually spatially recognized except for something that's in the blockchain, because that can be mathematically time-stamped, cryptographically proven to actually occur.
Yep, this is just the beginning.
Okay. So very powerful stuff. Very good conversation, guys. I'm really glad you guys could join us tonight. I know it's probably pretty late over there in Canada, depending where you guys are. But I'm really happy you guys could all join in here.
Wait a minute. I thought they're in Vancouver. It's north, not east.
Oh, north? So what time is it for you guys in Canada?
Like, what is it? 9 o'clock?
Vancouver.
9:30.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So same time zone.
Where are you guys? Where's Vortex?
I am in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Whoa! Talking about gambling.
Yeah. So, that's another thing Bitcoin's going to do amazing stuff with, is online gambling. I'm pretty excited to see the stuff that's going to come out of that. We've had Satoshi dice and, small little things, experiments. But what's really going to be funny is when some platform takes off that's going to be really easy to use and, goes global, and governments try to stop it, and it's going to be so impossible. It's going to be huge. That's just another thing. Augur is one of those gambling systems, but there's going to be more than that, and it's going to be freaking awesome to watch these governments try to stop people from just doing what we've been doing for thousands of years, like ingesting things into our body, gambling, things that nobody ever told us what to do with before. So pretty awesome stuff. I do have a couple more topics left.
Yeah, can I jump
in
something here? Related to that conversation, I think it's very interesting. Has anyone published a paper or an article regarding what the potential attack vectors are in that sort of scenario? Because we often talk about these projects or these coins, these assets hitting critical mass and then changing everything. But there are entities that will resist that, and there will be governments that fear some of that change because of just what it is and how fast it happens.
Is there a paper on it?
So is there a paper on discussing at a high level what those attack vectors could be?
Yeah, there's a number. There's several papers.
There's a number of papers that talk about specific attack vectors. I don't know that there's a paper that kind of brings them all together in general. That would probably just require some Googling and some research. But I know that there are some prominent attack vectors that people are aware of, and there have been white papers, I think, on every major attack vector that we can think of, namely the 51% attack and things like that. But they're really, at this point, 7 years down the road, we kind of got a white paper on all the main stuff. Of course, there's going to be attack vectors that we can't even imagine that are going to come out. But because of the resilience of the Bitcoin network and the amount of people that are in it, it will be recognized, and we'll have a white paper on it like almost immediately. It will not take long.
So, you can do some. You can find a little bit of information on a blog called futurerant.tumblr.com, where I discuss several of the lesser known attack vectors on the Bitcoin blockchain. I think that might be of interest to you. Some stuff I wrote last year.
Can you paste that in the chat room?
Yes.
For everybody to see? Cool.
Yeah. I haven't written to it lately, but take a look there and see if that is of any interest to you. Because I talk more about cryptography and violence. There's the first article there is underreported attack vectors on the Bitcoin blockchain. I like footnotes, so keep that in mind.
Cool. Thanks so much, Gabriel. Yeah, you guys bring up a good point. We always have to continue to pay attention. We have to be vigilant. We have to pay attention to make sure that we don't just build something and try to roll it out and then have it completely fall apart. I think that the blockchain or the block size debate really has kind of shown that while there's a lot of debating and a lot of bickering, a lot of stuff like that, a lot of negativity, what comes out of this is consensus. It does eventually happen, and there are so many people paying attention to this that I really think that any type of attack vector that could ever come out will be recognized fairly quickly. It's almost like with TCP/IP. There's so many people that pay attention to that code, to that particular code stack. It's not just like W3C or anything. There are millions of people that pay attention to that because that is how data runs over the internet. So the more popular a network gets, the more popular, the more protected it actually becomes from its users. Because the more people that join a network, the more that value that network gains. So that's part of the value that it gains is more people paying attention to it.
Basically, the thing that I discussed in that article is that people who can print fiat might just print a bunch of money to lose it against the price of Bitcoin. So just simply making losing bets against the price movement and, doing, margin cascades, what's it called? Shorting, the shorting Bitcoin on markets and just taking a loss because it doesn't cost you anything technically. But the problem is that doesn't last very long. You can maybe try to nip it in the bud. You can try to delay it a little bit, but eventually that is, of course, going to backfire on you because if the network is strong enough to resist enough to even stay around, eventually you will completely devalue your fiat. So that's the nature of the speculative attack. You can do the speculative attack with Bitcoin against fiat and the reverse. So it all depends on whether that's done before or after the tipping point. I think it's actually too late already.
I probably would agree with that. I mean, maybe 18 months ago, but at this point, 12 to 18 months ago, but at this point, yeah, we're past the point of no return, really, at this point. So as far as scaling the network with critical mass to the amount of people to where it can't be shut down, I think we're at that point. There's enough people looking at it. There's enough eyeballs paying attention to it. There's enough money invested that it's pretty well protected. So we'll see how
the network doesn't need to be destroyed for the value of it to be destroyed, though, right?
Very true.
The network
exactly.
I agree with that. But what you were talking about, economic destruction, that is really the attack vector that still exists very much. We were talking this afternoon about how a country like the U.S., for example, could be accumulating a very large position in the currency as a hedge.
But they had it, and
it really doesn't. No, they could be doing this invisibly just as well as we. Bitcoin, yeah. Like anybody can do it.
Oh, like they sold it for $450 or $500, then bought it for $380.
No, they're just buying $1 billion. They're going to buy 25% of the network, and in the future, if it becomes something they want to destroy, they can destroy it. Right?
Now, there's an interesting caveat to that because how long would it take them to acquire that 25%? Because if the U.S. if something entity as large as the U.S. government is acquiring coin, that will do nothing but push the price extraordinarily high. So
right. It already be part of that volume. That's what I'm saying. We don't actually know where that volume comes from. There's so much derivative trading now, and there's so much bullshit volume coming out of the exchanges. We really have no idea.
Well, we do have a little bit of idea that most of the volume out of exchanges is coming out of China.
Yeah, and we know that.
We don't know that.
We have an understanding of what the liquidity is, but we really don't know how it's being distributed. It could be to traders, it could be to users, it could be to governments, it could be to corporations.
It's going to be interesting to see how long they wait because it's been 7 years, and I tell you, if they wait much longer, I don't know. I mean, every day that goes by, the Bitcoin network itself becomes harder to attack, whether that's through economic destruction or actual finding an exploit. Right, every day.
I'm not sure.
One more thing I want to say here.
Yeah.
I often think of Bitcoin as becoming the digital version of gold. And so if I'm a country that wants to hedge against the emergence of Bitcoin, like I just described, and that is the most likely outcome is that it becomes digital gold, then I want to own it anyway. It's a win-win situation. Either it's something I want to destroy and I can do that later, or it's going to become this new global asset for countries to interact financially. And that's something I definitely want to own 25% of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're very close to countries owning a percentage of Bitcoin in assets.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. Well, could be good.
I'd like to. There's two things that Greg said that I'm not sure I'm convinced about. I think it's basically, we're getting into prediction here, so it's not something you can necessarily back up. But first of all, I'm not sure that it's possible to destroy a network just by owning X amount of it. Even 80%, you'll just lower the price. I mean, you'll just increase the supply by selling it. You won't necessarily destroy it. It's like you said, it's extremely difficult to actually destroy the network. Even if you try to do a 51% attack or something, it's very easy to overcome that type of situation. So a speculative attack on Bitcoin is going to have a really tough time, as opposed to a speculative attack on a fiat, which just simply cannot recover from that. You're done, and you have to make a new money that you have to get people to trust by force again. So I think that that's not a good attack vector for governments, and they know that. As far as investing in Bitcoin so that they're not completely disintermediated from the power structure of our society, that is more likely, in which case governments will just be another power broker in a more decentralized power structure in society. I think that's going to precipitate that movement in the human society on the globe. Once the governments are actually participating in the Bitcoin network, that will make them just another node, and that will just make them another silo like Coinbase, really. Yep. That provides worse services and tries to do things by force. So then you'll have massive betting against governments because they're so much less powerful than the rest of the network. So that's the way I see that scenario going. But I definitely recognize that both are possible, technically speaking.
And also, getting into quickly getting into redundancy. I mean, Monty mentioned it, but we're going to have Bitcoin nodes in satellites soon. We're going to have low power devices that literally require like no freaking electricity powering Bitcoin nodes. I mean, we're right now we're in the age of kind of reinventing electricity. We're about to have in the singularity. We're gonna discover unlimited energy, and so really we're not too far away from having complete redundancy on the Bitcoin network. I mean, it's just not going to be possible to take it down with the technology coming out.
Technology, I think, is stable. I'm not referring to a technological attack vector. I'm talking to an economic one. Like, if the U.S. owned 20% of Bitcoins available today, right now, they can destroy the currency.
I mean, more worried.
You mean destroy? You mean devalue it? You don't mean destroy it, right?
What do you mean by destroy?
Then people would still use it, but we would. In aggregate, we would lose trust in it, and it wouldn't actually propagate it.
I don't think so.
We wouldn't lose trust.
No,
we wouldn't lose trust because the network is still functioning as it should.
It's too small. There's not enough real use coming out of it that people will actually care.
It'd be a smart move.
If every single Bitcoin on every single exchange was purchased all in a very short period of time, and nobody knew why or from whom, it would completely destroy everyone's trust in the currency, and it would never recover.
No, that's
someone
totally,
can't purchase that much at once, though.
Yeah,
somebody can't purchase 80%. There's no entity like that would want at this point that would want to purchase 80% of the network yet.
I'm not saying that's I'm saying if somebody did, do harm, it would be significant.
Maybe the Chinese would do a chance to do that in the American.
It doesn't matter who it is. I'm just saying that attack is viable because our perceptions of it and our trust levels are still limited.
But it kind of almost validates it at the same time.
Right. Exactly. Right. And so I don't agree with Vortex that it's not possible. I totally think that you could do it, but it's the part about destroying it. You'll never. It's way too late. The idea of a cryptographically secured block progression where each depends on the last, this chain idea, will never go away. It's permanent now in human society.
Forever. Absolutely.
Say again?
You're just talking about Bitcoin.
I'm sorry. I'm talking about the retail value of a Bitcoin can be destroyed. The network will survive anything.
It can be lessened. That's not destruction.
Lessened.
That's not lower number.
Zero really fast. If somebody wanted to.
Not zero. Not zero.
Right? It can never go to zero. Absolutely never go to zero, right? Because unless it was actually unless there was a flaw found.
Nobody will want to trade it, essentially.
Well, the hippies won't trade it, but if the Chinese or American government buys it up, I'm like, that's validation for me.
You're missing the point. If somebody owned 25% of all Bitcoins and they wanted to sell all of them really aggressively, they could erode the trust we have
for a short period of time.
Currency, and that could reduce the value to something where people wouldn't actually recover their
money. But that's only for a short period of time, and we would recover because the network is always on 24/7. We're watching. We're able to transparently see that this amount of coin was purchased, and that would do nothing but tell people that, hey, I mean, because look at Satoshi. He owns 1 million coins. He owns a percentage of the whole network, yet everybody trusts that we're going to keep going, right? Even if Satoshi sold some, I still think that the network would be resilient. Maybe the price would go down, but it could never actually go to zero unless there was a flaw found in the system.
That doesn't mean just because a lot of coins hasn't sold all of them and tried to ruin the network doesn't mean that
you can't ruin the network. You can't. No, but what that gentleman is saying is, what Vortex is saying, you can't destroy it. That's not an issue.
No, that's absolutely an issue.
Well, for you it is, but not for the rest of us.
Greg, you're talking.
My point is, I'm on the same page as all of you. Okay, I believe in this technology. Sure. You need to be aware of some of these things.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And
this is exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what my blog post is about. It's totally a possible attack vector, but it will not have a permanent effect. You're talking about a psychological effect on the people who don't understand the technology. All the people who do understand the technology will just hold it and wait, or they'll move to another altcoin. Because yes, it is dangerous to hold on to Bitcoin alone. It's possible to be attacked by an altcoin. That's much more likely, but it's still extremely unlikely because of the miners. Miners have physical hardware and human beings that have trained to use. They've invested hundreds of millions of dollars and in electricity and in hardware to secure the Bitcoin blockchain. They have a big investment in it. The fact that the price dropped to X, that to 1% of its current value will not dissuade all of the true believers that understand the point of the blockchain. Yes, all the people that are in it just because they want to get rich and all the people that don't matter will get flushed out of the ecosystem. So there's
more than one of those types of people than the other, and we don't actually know how many of each there are. And
it doesn't matter. You only need a few hundred, say, of the true believers, and there's at least tens of thousands.
As Gabriel's saying, there's hundreds of millions of dollars of investment. If somebody sold 25% of the coins right now, those people would not sell all their hardware. They would not just give up and throw up their hands. There are people all over the world with anything from $10,000 to $1 million invested into this hardware. And I think that there's enough of those people around, and they only continue to grow as the hash continues to get more difficult, that those people, those people would not sell their coin. They would definitely not pack up shop.
I don't agree with that at all. I don't agree at all. I think the mining network will experience a huge reduction in size. A bunch of miners will totally go out of business if the price.
I'm saying not all of them.
Attack. No, not all of them. There will always be some left, and that's all you need.
And to keep exactly, going. That's why the value will never go to zero, because there'll always be somebody left. At least who understands what's going on.
It will be around 2 weeks before the difficulty readjusts. Like that.
Yeah.
Like when I was seeing the Hong Kong special, they had 80 or 90% of the mining power represented on stage. I'm like, well, that's not too many doors to knock down. Like I understand, like a lot of them are just representing a pool, but at the same time, if look at it this way, the U.S. government and a couple other countries all collude. Right at the difficulty change, they knock on all these doors, they cut down power, maybe they cause like a global power outage. Like that's going to seriously hurt the network and take a lot of trust out of the network, because you're now going to have like block times that could be several hours long, and that not only increases that 2 week read difficulty, like it's just going to throw the whole network into pandemonium. So that still seems like the most likely attack vector to me. It's still on the hardware side. Like economically, I think the database will always be intact. So you're never going to lose the coins. Even if Satoshi turned out to be the NSA and said, "Oh, well, we're dumping all our million coins on every market right now," like that it's going to be absorbed. We saw it with the bear whale a year and a half ago. Like 30,000 coins got ate up in about 2 hours. So like it's something that we can react to a lot faster. But the hardware side, it's still slightly vulnerable. Like to say that it's impossible is very unlikely, I guess. Like
we need a decentralized energy grid. Is what we really need, a decentralized global energy grid before we can say Bitcoin can never go down. But
that's coming
of course
soon. Solar.
Yep, there you go. Advances in energy, natural energy from wind to solar is advancing like crazy. Prices are coming down. More energy per inch is getting absorbed, and this type of and we're getting to the point where devices require less and less energy to operate. So. Yeah, I think we'll eventually reach that point. But yeah, like I guess you're right, Alex. Right now, the best attack probably would be attack on the energy grid to kill a lot of that mining. Very interesting.
But that's
a pretty drastic step to take.
Yeah, it's still game theory. Yeah. Like you're going to do so much damage just trying to take down the network. Like even on an economics attack vector, the amount of damage that you're going to do to yourself trying to destroy something else. The risk just is too high. Like, you
could damage other global markets by taking out the power to like all of Europe or something.
What if it threatens your ability to have the only world currency, which basically is why the U.S. has so much power? If they were, they were about to lose that, do you think they'd spend a few $1 billion?
Well, they're losing it right now, though, to China and Russia, like the Asian alliance.
Like death by 1,000 cuts. This is like an existential event, essentially, right?
Yeah. So in order to do that, I mean, what U.S. mainly controls, right, is mostly the U.K., Australia, Canada. They only got a few, the Five Eyes, right? They've only got a few countries kind of that can collude with them. And I don't think that any country would agree with them that taking down like huge amounts of the power grid would be beneficial to them. Like, I don't think they could convince enough people to do that. And if they did it by force, I think that it would drop enough markets in other places to where they would maybe produce backup standards for the next time or something. It just seems like they can't convince enough people to take down enough actual real estate or electricity grid to really make a difference.
Well, and the game theory always remains intact. Like, it's always better to contribute to the network because you stand to gain way more than you ever would to attack it.
Right. Yeah. And it's important to recognize or to note at this juncture that governments are not monolithic. They're not like one person with a wallet. They consist of individuals just like networks. And if the game theory suggests that the officials in a bureaucracy will begin to utilize better money when it comes around. They'll hoard the Bitcoin and they'll give out the script to the underlings or whatever. But the people in power will try to maintain. They'll scrabble according, like you say, game theory. They'll scrabble, and those people will defect and steal Bitcoin if they're among the feds, for example. Given the opportunity, it's too great of an opportunity to pass up. These FBI agents, working on dark markets, the temptation is so high to go away with it. So that's also going to happen once governments attempt speculative attacks against Bitcoin. They'll have defectors within their ranks peeling off, and also revealing plans. Leaks. I think the whole concept of leaks is going to get bigger and better in the future, and Augur is going to have a lot to do with that too.
For sure, and let's be honest,
whatever, prediction markets.
Yeah, for sure, totally true, Gabriel. And let's be honest too, the only entities in the U.S. government that care about the U.S. dollar succeeding really is the Federal Reserve and the IRS, right? Those are the only entities that actually really care. Everybody else just wants a currency that they can trade in tomorrow that'll be worth $1. They don't care if that's Bitcoin or if that's the U.S. dollar. The average person, they just don't care. The only people that care if the U.S. dollar succeeds is the Federal Reserve and the shadow governments that it powers.
Shadow governments, yes.
That's a whole episode right there.
Exactly. So, that's going to be fun to speculate on. But yeah, very absolutely interesting conversation talking about attack vectors on Bitcoin. Haven't really found a whole lot, but we'll see. We'll see what we can do in the future. So thanks again, guys, so much for contributing. I do have maybe only one or two more topics, but I'm glad that this topic ran long because that was some interesting stuff that people need to know about this. And so thanks so much, Greg and Freddie, for participating.
Yeah, no worries. Like to throw some curveballs every once in a while,
Good
You
stuff,
need 'em.
guys. Love it. I'll be up there. I'll be up there soon. I'll come and say hi.
I'll be in Vietnam.
I want to go to Vancouver. When are you going to Vancouver, Gabriel?
Road trip coming up the 15th. Get you at 3 a.m. Vortex.
Dude, where's your car?
That's awesome, man. I want to go to. Yeah, I got to visit Canada one of these days. Vancouver, particularly, because the Bitcoin scene up there is just getting insane.
Yep.
Awesome. So let's see. I guess I just better finish out the last topic real quick because I had one more company to talk about. So besides all the Open Bazaar stuff, the only other one that I really think that I want to pay attention to in 2016 is Blockstream. And Blockstream, is the one who created the whole sidechains idea, created the liquid sidechain, and they're actually going to be investing in a lot more to do with sidechains this year, and even let's see what else they said. Yeah, a lot more in sidechains this year, and and even further into the Lightning Network. So I think that Blockstream is really innovating in the space where a lot of people do a lot of talk. Blockstream does a lot of code. And so I'm really glad to see them put out code after a white paper, and to do it so quickly too, and then to update it with blog posts, on their opinions and stuff. So I think that they're an awesome asset to the Bitcoin community, and I'm really excited to see what they're going to bring towards bring for us in 2016. So now that topic is gone here, let's start another topic. This one is interesting. It actually probably has something to do with what we were just talking about. Switzerland signs a deal to end banking secrecy. It doesn't exactly, have a one-to-one Bitcoin relationship, but I think that it can definitely play into how Bitcoin is going to be used and stuff, especially as it is used by a lot of people to hedge against fiat currencies and things like that. So Alex, let me hear from you first. What do you think about this ending of the banking secrecy? Which, of course, we know it's not going to end all the secrecy, but what do you think?
I'm not sure if it's this is something that's coming from the top down or from the bottom up, but it's definitely publicity in our monetary system is definitely something that's coming out more. We saw it earlier in the year that Russia was demanding for data from the SWIFT network because they wanted to find out where the money for ISIS was coming from. So we're seeing a lot more in regards to, hey, there's information that really should be public. So why the hell isn't it? So I'm really interested in where this idea came from. But yeah, we all know every movie we've seen, hide your money in the Cayman Islands or a Swiss bank account. It's kind of just been a footnote in our society that everyone knows this goes on. So it's about time. That's really all I need to say.
It's almost like it's a direct, a direct action for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is it does nothing but promote all this transparency and all of this this fairness and things like that. So it seems like they're trying to try the traditional finance system is trying to fight back a little bit by trying to say that they're becoming more transparent. Of course, we know that's not true. I mean, they can tout these articles all the time, and they can give a country a little bit of info if they want, but that is in no way, shape, or form fixing any actual real problems we have in the financial system. And it is definitely no way, shape, or form making the financial system as we know it today any more transparent for any normal people, for regular people. If you're a president, maybe you can get some more information than the average Joe. But, you're not going to get the average person is not going to be able to access any more information on the banking system than they could today after this article. But I tell you, just a quick spoiler alert, Alex, you kind of hit the nail on the head there, trying to find out, where's funding from ISIS coming and stuff like that. And these are the types of stuff that the public is going to find out, very, very really, because there are people that do investigations into this stuff, and there are plenty of papers you can read on this. Spoiler alert, it comes from the CIA, but more and more of this information is going to be put out transparently for people to actually be able to check out themselves. As Bitcoin and stuff blows up more and the transparency ever gets more exposed, people are going to demand more. They're going to demand more information. They're going to demand more transparency. And so eventually more and more will come into the light. Like we see with the Snowden releases and stuff like that, living in a post-Snowden era. Leaks can come at any time. So tell me, Gabriel, what do you think about this article?
I'm not surprised that the countries surrounding Switzerland and all over the world have coerced this small alpine country into opening its bank databases to them. But what I'm interested in is maybe in the future. Switzerland is one of the very, very few governments in the world which actually has a direct democracy. There's a direct path for the citizens to create bills and vote on them without the influence of elected representatives. So they, recently shot down a bill that would cause the Swiss Central Bank the Swiss National Bank, as it's known, to hold 20% of its wealth in gold reserves, but at least it went on the ballot. So I think it'd be quite interesting to see somebody, I wouldn't be surprised to see at least getting on the ballot a vote to reinstate bank secrecy in Switzerland against the wishes of giant allies, something that could really bother those allies. It'd be interesting to see something like that happens, but whatever, it's just typical coercion stuff otherwise.
Yep. I guess we can all agree with that. So, Greg, what do you guys think?
I think this idea of transparency in the financial system is going to be short-lived because you can just do it on a blockchain. There's going to be boutique financial companies that will work essentially equivalent to what Switzerland's doing, and you can't make them accountable for anything because they're not actually responsible. They're just giving you a piece of tech and you're using it. That people will be able to just hide assets in some cryptocurrency, create a currency, whatever they want to do. But I think the benefits gained from that degree of innovation far outweigh these use cases. I think we overvalue money laundering and stuff like that, and undervalue things like capital controls and currency manipulations and global trade agreements. Those are the issues to me that are important, not some rich people smuggling some money for some small terrorist thing. I think we can just simply out-innovate and outgrow those problems with a better society that will be enabled from all this technology. So
I think this has a lot more I think this shows how overreaching or overbearing, not to use those two, somewhere in there, the U.S. power is. I think that this Swiss thing was very much a U.S.-led and maybe UK like rubber stamped force of power, because that's what I think anyway. I mean, that's what my gut told me as I read it. I was just like, oh, this reminds me of something that would come from like Washington. You know what I mean? So, I mean, where else would it come from? You know what I mean? Like, really?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Washington could be pressuring their banks, which could pressure Swiss banks or something. Like, there could be a way of them influencing that. That's an interesting hypothesis.
Well, it's just that Switzerland was so like autonomous for so long. Like, what changed that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's obvious, completely obvious. I think I don't think it's that. Right. It's not even close to a stretch, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Somebody is applying pressure. Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy. Cool.
Interesting.
Obama's got to get
cool.
He's got to get that money.
Yeah, I mean, we see how much power the U.S. has with Kim.com. I mean, they literally are going to extradite him from his own country and bring him back here for movie copying. So we know how powerful the movie industry is. Let's not discount the power of the government.
And the financial industry, totally.
Financial industry, that's what I meant. Sorry, not the government. Yeah, the government, not so much power, mostly run by the financial industry. But yeah, the financial industry, that's the power.
I wonder what's going to happen with like assets that were like stuck there from the Second World War that have been unclaimed or have been claimed. I'm really curious about what's going to happen with that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, that could be a move from an area of the shadow sphere onto the U.S. government, forcing that hand so they can maybe repatriate assets that were lost during the Second World War in more dubious times. You know what I'm saying? That kind of stuff is always possible.
It's interesting, too, because, obviously, the banks have been running both sides of every war since before the 20th century, that's for sure. More than likely several centuries before that. So it'd be interesting to see if they're trying to play the U.S. against something else now, and because they always it doesn't matter who wins to them. They fund both sides, and they take they side with whoever won.
That's
pretty
right.
much. So So interesting to see. Interesting to see. One thing is for sure, we're seeing the repatriation of gold across the world. We're seeing people dropping dollars. We're seeing China leave their dollars. We're seeing people leave their dollars, especially the BRICS nations and stuff like that, and creating. They formed last year, or was it in 2013? They formed the BRICS nation formed a new bank, like $100 billion bank or something like that in South America, or I forget where it was, but it was to basically create another financial system to compete with the U.S. dollar, because people, of course, are getting super sick of the petrodollar and the U.S. dollar controlling or all of the assets being priced in the U.S. dollar, and therefore the U.S. dollar controlling that. So, yeah, people are getting sick of it. Very interesting. Let's see here. So, only have one last topic. So before I paste this in, for everybody who's watching, if you could go ahead and tweet out about the show. Let everybody know that we're actually live here right now talking about Bitcoin. You guys can tweet that out. We'll have one last topic here, and then the show will be put up on the World Crypto Network, so you can check it out on their YouTube channel and on their SoundCloud channel. And we get a lot of views from there as well, in addition to Blab. But you can always come back to this Blab channel as well and view the chat, because the chat is only saved on Blab. So you can view the entire chat room and see all the links that people put in there and stuff, like Gabriel and the rest of the guests. So definitely check that out. Let's paste in the the final topic here. Something a little close to home for me here. The U.S. banks refuse financial services to legal marijuana businesses, medical marijuana businesses, and a little close to home to me because I am a medical marijuana patient. So I want to see what you guys think about this. Alex, you first, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, I also have a card too, but that's just kind of how the industry operates in Vancouver here, and it's something that's changing in the landscape very quickly. And I don't think it's really strange to see that they're shutting down bank accounts this late in the game. Like, unless they're just trying to squash out the middle or the little guys, they know like they have bigger companies coming in. But this sort of thing is happening in Australia right now with Bitcoin companies too. They're shutting down their bank accounts like crazy. So it's kind of a power move for them. It's really the only thing they can do, I think, to really fight. But there'll be other means. And yeah, even when I was in a dispensary earlier in the year, there was when I asked them if they accepted Bitcoin. By the end of the conversation, two of the guys who worked behind the counter wanted my number to buy Bitcoin. So I thought that was kind of an interesting role reversal, that two guys who sell weed for a living wanted my number to buy Bitcoin. It's kind of like we're in that next level of this whole mindset, I guess, of things going down.
What was with stoners with Bitcoin is the obvious problems that could happen. Dude, I lost my phone, and dude, I lost my key, and dude, I forgot my password, and dude, I forgot everything that I ever did in my life, man.
That's why you have Airbits, right? I mean? That's why you have
exactly.
Right, so. Dude, I lost my wallet. Yeah. Where's my wallet, man? That kid, he sold me this Bitcoins. I can't find my Bitcoin.
So let me say something. So yeah, so there's JM in the chat, JM Granola. He's talking about how his firm or how his dispensary operates only in cash. And I want to put out a message to all medical marijuana dispensaries that that operating completely in cash is absolutely dangerous. You give yourself all sorts of risk. You have to store that cash. You have to transport that cash. You have to secure that cash, and all of that costs money, costs time, and is very dangerous because you then provide a honeypot, so to speak, for anybody who wants to make a quick buck. They know that this guy over here is operating purely in cash. Well, you're going to be a target to be stolen from. Now, if you operate in Bitcoin in addition to cash, you have the ability to hedge against those problems. You can, with Bitcoin, you can store that securely. You can store that securely off-site or on-site, whatever you want. But either way, even if it's on-site and encrypted, they still can't get it. They still can't get to it.
Totally, with much respect, bro. I totally disagree with that. I'm moving to Vietnam in like 12 days. And the thing I'm more scared of than anything else, to be honest with you, is wrench attack for all my fucking coins and for all my friends' coins. Guess what, guys? I got a gun on my head right now. This freaking pimpy little guy got a gun on my head. I need $10,000 worth of Bitcoin or I'm dead. All my friends, or 100,000. Of course, all my friends who have Bitcoin are going to fucking help me, otherwise I'm dead, right? They'll chop off my finger. You saw the Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
Right? So they're going to chop off my little finger and send it to y'all and say, look, send the money, Lebowski, right? Where's the money, Lebowski? And then all my friends are going to throw down. And then, that's my single biggest fear right there is the wrench attack. So
Sure.
I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you, but a bank can, that can be recouped through insurance and stuff like that, banking insurance, stolen cards, whatever, all that stuff.
But that's the problem, is that no banks are taking on these businesses. These banks are literally left on their own. And, when you're left on your own like that, you have to watch out for yourself. And if you're operating purely in cash, you're opening yourself up to those problems.
That's right.
Now, for sure, the wrench attack, of course, that you can't stop against that with any currency. If somebody's got a gun to your head, yeah, they're going to get your money whether you like it or not, unless you don't mind this life anymore or don't mind leaving this life.
I agree with you on that, except that Greg and Alex could come to my rescue in 10 minutes, where if it was $1 million in cash or $100,000, yeah, Alex wouldn't, but Greg probably would. He's a good guy. Alex. So anyway,
You gotta know.
So the point is that, you can float 100K to Vietnam in 10 minutes, but 100K in cash is going to take a whole lot more work. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of stuff. So all I'm trying to say is I hear what you're saying, but that wrench attack thing is what scares me the most about traveling, honestly, right now. And I'm thinking about somehow publicly distancing myself as an owner of Bitcoin just to limit that sort of. Roger Ver must be. I wonder if Roger Ver thinks about this kind of thing when he travels.
Yeah, no, for sure, dude. A lot of people, are talking about this in the community as the price rises. A lot of people are talking about, a lot of people. There's been a lot of Reddit posts that basically say, stop talking about Bitcoin. Stop telling your friends about Bitcoin. We are past the point of no return. This thing is going to be huge, and when it's $10,000 a coin, everybody that you ever told is going to come back and talk to you. Now, of course, there's some caveats to that. There's some truth to that, and there's not some truth. But one thing is for sure, if you're talking about ransom and stuff, that you're not going to be able to stop that, whether it's dollars or Bitcoin. I was just, of course, talking about specifically about dispensaries in America who operate in America and that kind of thing. But yeah, sure, if you're going off country, do whatever you got to do. But inside first world countries, I definitely want to recommend Bitcoin to these dispensaries, because it will allow them to not have to store all this cash. To put them in dangers of that. They can encrypt their private key, they can store it offsite, and they can even do it automatically with certain multi-sigs. They can make it so you cannot have the money from this dispensary unless you have this key and things like that. So it makes even the wrench attack almost impossible, because you have to get a hold of all the parties in the multiple signature agreement. So these types of benefits, it's going to save, it's going to help the medical marijuana industry, I think, a lot. And if people start to realize this, I think that it's really going to allow them to hedge against these problems that are happening, where the banks are just not giving them their business. With Bitcoin, you can be your own bank. You can do all the things that you could do with bank. You can transfer money online. You can use that money to buy stuff online. You can do all of these things that you can't actually physically do with cash. So it's definitely, I'd like to recommend that to everybody. And
you might also automate it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, you bet. Gabriel, do you have anything to say about this story?
Yes, I was gonna ask for a shot of scotch, but Laphroaig is not my jam. A little too peaty for my taste.
We like it nice and dirty up here in Van.
Yeah, I bet. I live in the desert, so I like it nice and clean, nice barley. Anyways, not the desert, it's LA. But anyways, so let's talk about laws, shall we? Laws are very different from code, because code doesn't require a threat of force. Code is just something that happens in a machine. The blockchain just records some data in time. It's a very simple thing. Laws are necessary when you have hierarchies in order to sort of maintain order for the top so that it can extract wealth. We're in a situation where laws are becoming less and less interesting for people. I think they're becoming less useful for us as a species. This idea of laws that somebody else is going to, sort of, how do you call it? Enforce, right? There's these people, they enforce the law. They back it up with force. That's that's its real, true backing. So we're in a situation where laws in general are going to become less relevant for us as a society. More of things will go to what they call tort law, which is like contracts and such. So I think a place like the marijuana industry is always going to be endemic or going to be symbolic of that flow through time as we transition from a society of laws to a society of contracts.
Liberty.
We're gonna see that. So this friction point where we've got old structures that are trying to prevent something from happening, and the new structures are saying, well, actually, you can't really prevent it, and it's also total bullshit to try to prevent it. And even in fact, all the other laws are kind of bullshit too, and we should have other mechanisms for dealing with the problems of society. So I think this is kind of what you might call symbolic or endemic of that transition. And it's always going to happen at these sort of pain points and transition points. So we're in a gray area right now where the law is going away. It's actually really great, and we notice it. Like the reason why we're talking about it and the reason why Vortex chose this article is because that transition from of a law getting dissolved and freedom arising in its place is much less common than regulation. Increasing the amount of law and coercion is the norm in our society for so long. Now we have this transition away, and it's always interesting to discuss those things.
Yeah,
very true, very interesting. Yeah, somebody said, Evan said it in the chat. You can't have contracts without law. That is no longer true with Bitcoin and blockchain code. We can now finally have what we call smart contracts. We can finally have contracts enforced by code, not by law, not by a lawyer, not by a government, not by a bank or a central entity. No, we can actually have it enforced by code. And that's what I think you're talking about, Gabriel, where you're talking about transitioning from these so-called old laws to actual contracts, where you don't need a law when the contract code says this. It will be fulfilled every single time. And so this, of course, is what's going to negate the need for lawyers and things like this in the future for business types of settlements, for contracts, and for these types of things. This will all just be run on the blockchain, run with code, and be commonplace. So
yeah, just as a little side note, I wrote a couple of blog posts on that same blog, futurerant.tumblr.com, about they're called Force in a Crypto Contractual World, parts 1 and 2. And I talk about the function that violence and force play in a world where crypto contracts are the norm. And my contention and my sort of idea in the end, my conclusion was that we will have distributed defensive and offensive technologies, and everybody will kind of have to protect themselves, and we'll have crazy threads that will protect us from all sorts of different weapons. We'll be able to 3D print defense and offense. It'll be very difficult to get a number on somebody, but it still will be possible. We'll still have, I think, terrorist attacks. There will still be violent people doing things, but it'll be ever harder to get away with in the age of ubiquitous sensors. Freddie?
So I love the way you think, bro, because I do the same thing. I lie in bed every morning for 3 hours, like trying not to get out of bed. And one of the things that came to me was that I think that we're going to have a code built in someday into our DNA that says the more evil or disvalue you add to society, the more you degrade in value. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the more good you do, the better position you become in every way. You become a healthier, more beautiful person. Your social standing goes up. And the more bombings you do or evil thoughts, I want to punch that guy in the face, boom, you lose 10,000 credits. You know what I'm saying? Or something like that. Or I just, did something to my girlfriend that was totally not cool, but I didn't really know it because I'm an idiot. But I got the point deduction, you know what I'm saying? And now I can't score so many babes anymore, because I did that sort of thing. You know what I mean?
So, yeah. So what you're kind of talking about, is global reputation.
Karma.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, the problem you're trying to talk about solving is global reputation. And this is something, obviously, that Facebook attempted to solve and things like that, which, it did a semi kind of crappy job of, it connected people, but it attempted to also be a one-all identity. And that's not what really, as humans, what we are. We're not just one person. I don't care what Mark Zuckerberg says. I'm much more than just one thing to one person. You know, I'm a husband, you know, a friend, and all these different things. So everybody is multiple things. We're not just one thing. And so, but this problem of global identity is what's going to really be solved with Bitcoin and blockchain technology, I think, in the future, is because this is something that we really want. This is something that business really needs. This is something that society really needs, is an actual quantifiable score, so to speak, on a person and their contribution to society, at least. It could be anonymous even. It doesn't actually have to like represent your actual name or anything, but it has to represent something that has to do with you in time and space. So you could have it maybe have it just represent a company or something, but something related to yourself. So this global scoring type of system, there was a couple startups that actually got funding to solve this problem. They kind of both have gone by the wayside now. Unfortunately, they couldn't solve this problem. This is a huge problem to be able to solve. And I think that once this is solved, like you said, it's going to just be huge, because everybody will be able to have a lot more opportunity, exponentially amount of opportunity, more opportunity than they have.
I think this is where ambient computing comes into play. You know what I mean? Or the big brother. You know what I mean? It's beyond humans. We're not going to be. We will give each other reputational points, but I think there's a point where we're going to have a very objective set of eyes and calculations that are going to tell us what we're doing. It's like karma, but it's a more obvious form, perhaps. You know what I'm saying? That's
could be.
I think
with sentience and artificial networks coming our way, it could be. Gabriel, go ahead.
Yep.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea of the convergence of genetics and AI that you just brought up, Vortex. Yeah, I think Freddie, I think that might actually already be the case, and that's what karma is, possibly. But and it sort of tracks our movement through various lifetimes and such. But just a couple notes on what you guys were just saying. Vortex, I don't necessarily agree that reputation is something we need. I think it's maybe inevitable, but I'm not sure. I mean, I think we might be able to get along without it as well. And I wanted to bring up another literary reference for you readers out there. So I already brought up John Brunner's Shockwave Rider. The next reading assignment for all the blabbers is Cory Doctorow's Down and Out in the Magic Kingdom, in which he describes a reputation currency called Wuffy. And the amount of Wuffy you get, it's basically the currency everybody can see, and the currency is completely tied to your identity, and it tracks your movement through. And so they have life extension. So it's interesting how characters will come in and out. They'll have tons and tons of Wuffy, and then things will kind of go bad in their life, and they'll end up with very little. Although nobody goes hungry or doesn't have shelter, you might not be able to do much at all, and you have to build it up again. It's an interesting concept.
I think that, if I may add to that, because this is a great topic, I think that on Earth, that gravity actually has an effect on our karma. It's so easy to lose your karmic value, and it's so hard to get it back. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so if you read into, if you study this kind of stuff, you'll find that it actually has a lot more to do with the electromagnetism and how Earth's magnetic field affects our bodies. Because the electromagnetic field has a direct correlation with how long our lifetime spans are. And so if you read into this kind of research, you'll find that in this type of density we find ourselves in now, the typical lifetime with this magnetic force is around 90 years. But back in the old days, even says in many Bible texts and many other texts that the Earth magnetic field was such that people lived for hundreds of years back then, because, when the Bible talks about people living for up to 900 years, it's not, like, these are recorded accounts. A lot of the times it's not just stories and stuff. There's of course a lot of stories, but there are people that used to live this long, and this was because of the physics of the Earth in such a way. And so you can research this stuff. Again, this goes back to David Wilcock material and the Law of One and different things like that. But you can research this stuff and find out that it's pretty heavy. I don't want to get into it, but I can definitely recommend. We've recommended it several times already. But David Wilcock's material, all of his books, and on the source energy and things like that, you'll find this type of information.
Cool.
One comment from me on this subject that I think is really interesting. It's a book that I recommend that everyone reads. It's very short, and it talks about the sort of abundant society, which is what a lot of this conversation's been about, where you eliminate the need for material possession because you can have an effectively infinite amount of everything, and so can everybody else. It's a really interesting read. I just posted it in the channel here, so I highly recommend you read it. It's good.
Great. Thanks, Greg. Yeah.
It is pretty fascinating, how societies create scarcity in the beginning. And because, we have scarcity in the beginning, we have to create monetary systems and something called money. But eventually, when we have food processors that can create food for us, and when we have unlimited energy where we don't need to pay for centralized entities, and all these types of things, when they come together around the time of the singularity, it's true. We just kind of won't need money as much. And in fully abundant societies, I'm sure throughout the cosmos, I'm sure fully abundant societies like Star Trek societies just don't even have money anymore. When everything is abundant, you don't need to create scarce items.
Well, it's interesting that most sci-fi's never really cover the topic of money very well. Like I laugh when I watch one of the Aliens movies. It's like, oh, here you go, get some space cash, like it takes you out of the entire illusion of it. But yeah, like credits maybe, like there's nothing that was ever really describing it well.
Sci-fi uses credits, the term credits a lot. They get away with that.
Yeah, it's bullshit. But I think Frank Herbert handled that really, really well, which was spice is this scarce resource that allows the bending of space-time. And because of that, you have the entire structure where you've got an empire.
Spice is a branding thing, though. You could have done better with the branding. What is it? Is it turmeric? Is it cinnamon? What is it? Like, I'm sorry. It's branding. Gabriel, we're on the same page with UI and all that stuff. What the fuck happened with spice?
I'll tell you, he says it tastes like cinnamon.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. He says it tastes kind of like cinnamon. It's probably, I always imagined it was a little bit like halfway cinnamon cardamom. That's what I'm going to go with.
Son of a bitch.
Fascinating stuff. Well, hey guys, thanks so much for joining us. We had some great conversation, had some great topics. I really appreciate you guys joining in. We're here every Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific, so I'd love to have you guys back. If you want to come back, of course, I would definitely appreciate it. I had a great time. Alex, can you tell us where we can find you?
Yeah, you can follow me at Alex_Stirk. I also do a show called Block Talk. You can find it at Block_Talk, or just search hashtag Block Talk on YouTube or anywhere on the interwebs. And yeah, check us out. We do lots of cool stuff. We had an interview with Open Bazaar, and it's really good to find out more information about this sort of things.
Awesome. Yeah, I highly recommend it. Alex has got some good interviews on there, so definitely check that out. Gabriel, where can we find you?
Twitter at Gabriel Devine.
Awesome. And so Greg and Fred, you guys want to give out any shout outs? Any plugs?
If you want to find me, I'm a decentralist, and so you can only find me here, there, or everywhere. But yeah, I'm just kidding. My Twitter is at FindFreddy, FindFreddy.
And mine's at Greg Peacock. I think you can see it in the screen here.
Oh,
under my user.
Yeah, you can see it here in Blab, but on YouTube and stuff, they can't see it. So,
damn,
it's at Greg Peacock.
Is it still going to be in this format on YouTube with the four of us? And if you it's so 8 is enough. You know what I mean? It's like we could push up something to pass this up to Alex right now. There we go.
I know, right?
Hey, dude, and then he can pass it over to Gabriel, right?
I don't got a pen. I have a pen. I don't have pens.
Pretty much. The story of 4 guys who like Bitcoin. They were talking about Bitcoin late into the night.
Yeah, we are.
Man, that's funny, Gabriel. You asked me if I had a pen. I'm like in the digital age. I don't even have paper, man. I don't even have paper.
I love pens. Love pens.
All right, awesome. Well, hey, thanks again, guys, for joining us. Check us back every Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific. Have a wonderful evening. Hope you guys have wonderful holidays, and we'll see you later. Keep talking Bitcoin.
Yeah.
See you guys later.
Peace.
All right.